Hey there.
Greetings, Vault Dweller.
What do you want?
It must seem like a strange coincidence, us meeting here. But I assure you that it is not. My name is Daryl, short for D.A.R.R.Y.L. I have been created to accompany you, by a group of people dedicated only to recording the history of mankind as it progresses after the Great War. I have been programmed primarily as a neutral source of information. A mobile encyclopedia, so to say. My prime directive is to not interfere. Even though we record history and never interfere or shape it, the organization has elected to provide you with my services. I can accompany you, and any companion you might be traveling with, to provide you with detailed information about locations and their history. In return for this service, I will document about the places you visit. Please express your preference at this point.
What's this all about?
The think tank that has created me has asked me to provide you with my services. I can offer you unique insights, and all information that is available to the think tank, on most locations that you visit, simply by asking me.
That does sound interesting.
There is not much else to say.
Sounds good. Let's go.
Agreed. I will follow you at a discreet distance. If you'd like to know more about any place that we visit, do not hesitate to ask me. As my systems do not allow me to interfere in any way, I will not engage in any form of combat, and will stay out of the way, should this ensue. Raiders are any group of people, who pillage, plunder, murder, or otherwise ruin the day of anyone unfortunate enough to not be one of them. Before we begin, perhaps we should start with a short tutorial on how I can be of use to you.
What now?
I can serve several purposes for you. You can engage my scanner to scan for enemies and useful items in the area. This will be a tactical advantage. You can engage me in dialogue and ask about the history and origins of important or landmark sites and places we visit. I also have a built-in alert system that will notify you of any enemies or bobbleheads in the area. When a normal enemy is close by, it sounds like this. When a very dangerous enemy is nearby, it sounds like this. When I have detected a bobblehead in the area, it sounds like this.
Yeah, that's great.
I have provided you with a scan module. You will find it in the aid menu in your... There are several small green lights on my body, which will...
You can go now.
Alas. To part ways can be such sorrow. Are you...
No,
Can I be of assistance?
That's all for now.
End of line. My situational archive is updated every half hour. Now tell me.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is Sanctuary Hills. Currently very low on the threat level matrix. According to think tank intelligence, the Minutemen remnants have targeted this location to create a smaller settlement. There are several key locations of interest nearby: Red Rocket truck stop, Vault 111, and a hidden root cellar in the back of the neighborhood. Bloatflies and other vermin have been spotted holding up inside the ruined houses during previous reconnaissance missions. Please proceed with care when entering this area for the first time. End of line.
Just curious what you're thinking.
Almost every successful person begins with two beliefs: the future can be better than the present, and I have the power to make it so.
That's all for now. You're
End of
such
line.
an...
Hello there. I am at your disposal, though hope you won't dispose me.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is Red Rocket truck stop. Used as a fueling station for the myriad of broken down cars you see across the Commonwealth, before the war. Strategically located right outside of Sanctuary Hills, it was one of many truck stops that Red Rocket had across the United States. A known nesting ground for mole rats. Once cleared, the think tank surmises it could be a perfect settlement location for scavengers such as yourself. Located north of the Commonwealth, it holds little strategic significance, yet has quite a few historical documents of interest. Of particular note are the Red Rocket workers' responses to being slowly replaced by a robotic workforce. The irony of that statement, has not escaped me, as my predecessor was named Dave, and he was a human. End of line.
What the hell was that?
I'm scared.
Hey.
If I may compliment you on a job well done, then I will do so when the time is right. What can I do for you?
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is Concord. Founded in 1635, together with Lexington, it became famous for being the site of battles that led to the American Revolution. It houses several still accessible buildings and areas of interest, such as the Concord Church, the Museum of Freedom, the Concord Speakeasy and more. Most noteworthy are the several access hatches to the Concord Civic Access Area. The think tank has located several items of note, and historical documents of value, inside the Museum of Freedom. End of line. I am always excited to converse with you. How can I help you at this point in time to guarantee success?
I'm not interested in the history of this place.
When Megan Hayes arrived, 1 month before the bombs fell, she was filled with excitement over her new position in the Museum of Freedom. When everyone saw the flashes and felt the rumble, they just left. Mr. Nash, David, and even Susan rushed out, leaving Megan alone in the museum. With her own family far away, she didn't really know anyone in Massachusetts and had nowhere to go. The soldiers, confused from the crash with their bird, were in panic and perceived everyone as threat. So she hid from them, hoping for a rescue that never came. Inside the museum there are several historical items of interest that describe the history of Boston. Please proceed with caution when entering the location, as the think tank has often seen raiders holed up inside. The term lobster back was a derogatory slur that colonists often used for British soldiers. Unlike the term lobster, which refers to the British soldiers' bright red uniforms, lobster back refers to the scars on the soldiers' backs.
Hey there.
When truth depends on perspective, it is wise to listen.
Just curious what you're thinking.
The challenge is to stay cool enough to handle the pressure in the moment, so that you can succeed in the future.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is Abernathy Farm. It has been constructed around a large pre-war high-voltage pylon and is inhabited by the Abernathy family. Think tank intelligence indicates they have suffered the recent loss of their daughter Mary, and they will likely be wary of visitors. Threat scans indicate this area is well defensible because of its strategic positioning. Defensive positions can be maintained from the tower. The farmhouse is a 2-story structure built into the frame of the high-voltage tower. The interior has working lights, but no usable electricity. Current inhabitants are Blake Abernathy, Connie Abernathy, Lucy Abernathy, Maisie the cat, and Clara Bell, the farm's Brahmin. End of line.
Hi. What a loser.
Glad that's over with. We had a deal, Trudy. Hand over the goods. You owe us.
I ain't giving you poison shilling chem pushers anything. Do you know what that junk has done to my
Easy
boy?
there, Scamp. That's right. Walk away.
Hey there.
Manipulation is the basis of all communication.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is Drumlin Diner, currently occupied by a trader named Trudy and her son named Patrick. Upon glancing over the location, one wonders where they sleep, if not on the floor of the decrepit diner. It is no mystery how they survive though, as several known traders often pass this location on their way to other settlements. You know, in some ponds, and some lakes, there is a perfect ratio of predators versus prey. The predator fish swim freely and take what they need. and leave other prey for later. Sometimes there is no clear or predictable pattern to this behavior. One would think, leave the smaller fish for later, but it often doesn't work like that. Victims are random, only leaning slightly to larger prey. It's interesting to observe that raiders seem to stick to a similar pattern as the predator fish, leaving just enough settlers and traders, like Trudy and Patrick here, alive. Having said all that, there's nothing really of note around here. Zilch. End of line.
Take your sales pitch and shove it up your ass.
My processing units are tingling with excitement.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
I'm in danger of becoming repetitive. I regret to inform you I do not have any relevant information about this location. Maybe a scan might reveal
Spare me
something.
the pep talk, will you?
Searching for anomalies. Scans have revealed the following. Protectrons. It's 2 in the afternoon.
From what I've seen, nobody out here's got it easy.
Our relationship is not one of master and servant, rather than it is one of teacher and student. If I can be of service.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
I'm sorry. Scanning the area. I do not have any please hold. The scans have revealed the following. Warning. I am detecting a super even on my scanners. Ammunition.
Hey there.
Greetings, Vault Dweller. If my databases.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is the Lexington Red Rocket truck stop workshop. Originally used as fueling station and workshop for cars and motorcycles. Located close to the Corvega assembly plant, it suffered from 2 factors. Most of the Corvega workers lived in town. And most of the people visiting Corvega would often get a free fuel up while they were there. At least, that's what we can assume from reading the journals found here, made by the manager of the workshop. Perhaps my scanners might still reveal some notable loot in the area. End of line.
Hey.
Manipulation.
Hey.
I assume that you have approached me with some kind of query. With that in mind, I am eager.
That's all for now.
End of line.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
When she was 16, young Mary Johnson was the youngest student ever to receive her master's degree at Boston University. And when she was 19, she found herself in the last remnants of the African jungle, looking for plants and medicine that could save humanity. It would take her 40 more years to finally find the proper ingredients for her medicine. And the world applauded her for inventing it. She went to parties and dinners, and later to presentations and press conferences. Exit. Daryl.
Looks like
Warning.
I found you.
I am always excited to converse with you. Can I be of assistance?
Lights out, pal. Wish there was some other way.
Find your own efficient spot. Clear out.
Hi.
Everything that you ever wanted is on the other. May I?
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is Covenant. A close-knit settlement that has been able to defend itself remarkably well against
Knocking
outside
around
threats.
the shore at all hours.
Despite
Scaring my
numerous
fish.
attempts of think tank agents to investigate the settlement, none have been granted access inside. The group seems to be extremely xenophobic towards outsiders, so little is known about the history of the place. It would be interesting indeed, to infiltrate it and get to the bottom of what goes on inside its walls. End of line.
Don't scare the fish, asshole.
Hi.
If moral values cannot be grounded in science, what use can science be to mankind before we do so?
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is the Institute Concourse. It is the main hub from where you can reach all Institute divisions. The lower area leads to the central lift and the main divisions of the Institute. The upper floors are residential areas. This is one of the most technically advanced factions that the think tank has observed across the United States. Many here live privileged lives, up to par with pre-war civilization. I can provide you with more information about the divisions once we reach those areas. End of line.
Sean? Oh my god. It's really you.
Who are you?
We need to go.
Father, what's going on? What's happening?
Ours is a relationship of sheer.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is Diamond City, also known as the Great Green Jewel. Before the war, the location was called Fenway Park. It currently houses around 50 people. The location itself is considered the largest settlement of the Commonwealth. But the think tank predicted some time ago that Minutemen activities might overshadow the settlement soon. Diamond City itself has several locations of interest, such as shops, a noodle stand, a chapel, a barber, medic, and restaurants in the upper stands. I encourage you to learn more about the history of this location by speaking to its denizens. End of line.
She's going to die. She needs help. Hurry.
Hey,
I have no other interest but to serve you, at this time.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
Filled with duct tape, tools, and a lot of notable loot. This is Hardware Town, a handyman store last known to be occupied by raiders. A think tank agent has reported a gruesome sight in the catacombs below the store, which can only be indicated as a mass grave. The location itself has been on gunner radar for some time. And the think tank predicts that when the raiders are disposed, gunners will take over. End of line. I am amazed that you have gotten this far. If my databases can be of any use, they are open to you at this time.
Anything you want to talk about?
The person who says something is impossible should not interrupt the person who is doing it.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is the Boston Police rationing site. It was intended for food and medical distribution among civilians. But due to rationing shortages, it was under investigation by the United States Army. It was supplied by NHNM services via the rail line, which leads a short way east to the NHNM freight depot. Places such as these are often breeding grounds for mole rats, ghouls and other vermin. There might be supplies of interest nearby. End of line.
Hi.
To be a servant of history, elevates my being to greater heights.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
Connected on the 5th floor via an internal pathway, welcome to Laden Towers, often home to raiders and criminals. Before the war, this was a large and busy apartment complex, housing families of city workers and business folk. There are several entrances to the towers, on the north, south, and west side. If there is any notable loot inside, my scanners should pick it up. End of line. Initiating area scan. Scans have revealed the following. Weapons. Chems.
Bruh.
Hey there.
My processing unit is bursting with excitement.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is the Combat Zone, a well-known raider location near the Boston Common. Operated by diverse owners in the past 50 years, this eventually became a nightclub and location for raiders to come together and relax. Despite Good Neighbor's reputation, many raiders prefer the Combat Zone due to its lawless nature, over Mayor Hancock's rules. The club itself is worth investigating, though caution is advised as the raiders present might not welcome you with open arms. End of line. It is said. May I inquire as to how I may be of service to you at this time?
I'm interested in the history of this place.
I do not have any information about this place available.
There's my strapping husband.
Our relationship is not one of master.
I'm interested
I
in the
currently
history
do not
of this
have any
place.
information on this place. I have requested the think tank for more data. Please try another time. I was created to serve, and delight in the prospect. Can I help you?
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is the Boston Airport. It is a location of significant strategic importance. The area is divided into multiple sections, with the main facility building at its center. The entire site is infested with ghouls, some of which have loitered here since the bombardments, 200 years ago. There are several items of interest in the area, including weaponry and documents of historical value. End of line. It's 7 in the evening. Alert, alert. Dumping redundant scan information to archives. Please hold. Dump complete. Memory utilization at 12%. It's 11 a.m.
Hi.
My situational archive is updated every half hour, providing, Can I be of assistance?
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is the former Cambridge police station. Currently occupied by Brotherhood of Steel Forces. Before the war, this station was the central location working on Operation Winter's End. The famous Edward Winter case turned out to be a bust, when Edward Winter made a deal with authorities, and officers had been following his end all along. The think tank has been in contact about this case with an individual named Nick Valentine. Perhaps he might be able to tell you more about it. The location itself contains both notable loot and historical documents of value. It is well worth investigating. End of line. If I may compliment you on a job well done.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
When Captain Lukowski, a well-respected pilot working for Horizon Airlines, saw the explosions, he knew they would crash. The electromagnetic effects from the bombs caused havoc on his instruments, and his plane came crashing down here, in what's now known as Crater House. Occupied recently by children of Atom fanatics, the place is a highly irradiated death zone. Think tank agents have observed a skill book in this location upon earlier reconnaissance. The main source of the radiation is one of the jet engines that came down with the plane, and its list of long dead of passengers. End of line. If I can render assistance in any way, I would be.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is the Kingsport Lighthouse. Often seen inhabited by children of Atom fanatics. Before the war, this was a popular tourist attraction and end-of-tour location for excursions. Despite its status as tourist attraction, the lighthouse itself was often closed as it remained in use and an important beacon for ships at sea. The glow ghoul at the top of the lighthouse was identified as one Peter McDonough. He is rumored to be the original lighthouse keeper. When the bombs fell, he rushed up the tower to see if there were ships in trouble. And as he saw the plumes rising from what we now know as the glowing sea, the door closed shut behind him, forever locking him inside. End of line.
Hey there.
I have over 30 gigaquads of data memory.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is Longneck Lukowski's Cannery. Having survived the Great War relatively unscathed, it's now operated by Theodore Collins. The think tank has received information that can only be called fishy, about the meat that was exported from this location. The cannery is operated by Mr. Handy Robots and is largely automated. I advise caution when exploring the location. And maybe a good gas mask, just to make sure you don't, you know, throw up or something. End of line.
Hi.
Ours.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
Now, a maze of corridors, floors, and elevators. This was once a fully automated hospital, staffed entirely by robots. Despite ongoing legal challenges because of the automated staff, the hospital was popular, mostly due to its easy roof access. Over 200 years old, the robotic staff will often recognize scavengers as trespassers, attacking any visitor on site. If you don't get lost on one of the many floors, the challenge of exploring the facility might reward you with some loot, but nothing notable. I could continue to tell you about the many personal stories, dramas, and minor miracles that happened here, even before its time as hospital. Such as the first birth of triplets, performed by 2 Mr. Handy nurses and a Mr. Handy doctor. Or the first rare case of pre-war gullification, after secret experiments on a civilian had gone wrong and he'd went to the hospital for a checkup. Or a family that hid here, in one of the shielded X-ray rooms, safe from the radiation and managed to survive for years with the help of the robots. In each corner, and in each room you look, there is an unwritten and often unremembered history that fascinates me. And offline.
Excuse me.
Ours.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
Poor Theodore Krupp. Once, his family was a distinguished and wealthy family, respected throughout Nahant. But when bad stock investments dissolved their wealth, they were completely unprepared for the great destruction of the war. While spared from direct blasts, they received the full force of the radioactive fallout, turning most of his family into feral ghouls. Hope can be a fickle mistress. For nearly 200 years, Theodore tried to reach his family and bring them back. But after all that time they had still not recovered. Ultimately overtaken by frustration, Theodore attacked his Aunt Belinda, after which the rest of his family attacked and killed him. There are no notable items of loot in this location. Interesting side note. Croup is an archaic name for diseases that affect the throat such as strep throat, laryngitis, and bronchitis. And offline.
Hey.
It is said that only the wise dare to ask stupid.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
This is the nearly destroyed Nahant Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Taylor was in charge of the department before the war, with his last big case focusing on the so-called Nuka killer. It is unlikely that Taylor ever found the killer, because shortly after he checked out evidence pertaining to the murder, the war broke out. The location itself is now a decrepit structure, void of interesting facts. End of line. The think tank would like to offer this as token of appreciation for taking me to this location.
Hey there.
Bias.
What's on your mind?
Scientists theorize there might be a kind of dark energy that can influence gravity. They call this energy dark mass, and the theorized ability to influence it, a mass effect. In theory, this mass effect could propel vehicles in space to before unimaginable speeds. Let's scan the area to see if there's anything of interest. Scanners initiated.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
No. I'm sorry. I am always excited to converse with you.
Just curious what you're thinking.
Scientists still have yet to discover the mechanisms behind dreaming. Before the war, much research was done into this. But the biggest problem is to decide on the approach. There are many factors to consider. The biochemical activity of the brain.
Hey there.
I offer you my circuits and databases.
I'm interested in the history of this place.
Though Massachusetts was carpet-bombed, one high-yield nuclear device was detonated here, in what's now known as the Crater of Adam. This one device accounted for much of the destruction we see today around Boston and Massachusetts. The think tank is now convinced that the military facility known as Sentinel Site was the target of this big boy. Yet ironically it remains intact. And with the proper amount of attention, it might still even be launch capable. The location itself is occupied by children of Atom fanatics less hostile than other groups encountered. I believe this is because their isolation forces them to deal with other factions more than you would expect in a less hostile environment. Think tank agents observed a historical document of interest in one of the shacks, but otherwise no notable items or loot. Led by Mother is sold, the group is open to trade and will likely not shoot you on sight. End of line. Initiating area scan. Scans have revealed the following. Children of Atom fanatics, I have found a historical document of interest nearby. We should search it out as it could contain knowledge about a useful skill. It's 4 a.m.